Hi, my name is Daniel Westbrook, and today we're going to install a custom railing millwork separation between an upper floor and a lower floor. This is only a couple of steps, but this is a very common feature in many homes, and this is one way to accomplish this feature. The key to any project like this is prior planning and layout, which is why you see drawings here on this piece of wood, which I've already figured out what I needed for this film. But also I have my book, and I'm going to tell you that one of the best features that any craftsman can do is carry around this book right here. It's one of the most valuable tools that you might have, because it gives you something to refer back to when you're in the middle of a project like this if there's a question. That way you don't forget, that way it's more efficient. That way when you're in the lumber yard getting your materials and getting all of your millwork, you're not forgetting anything as well. That is key to making things go efficient for a little project like this. The materials that we're using can be purchased right off the shelf, so there's no need for custom orders. However, we are going to make some customizations to the stock. Okay, so laid out here is the material that we're going to be using for the railing, and we've modified a lot of this stock already, and we're ready for installation. Just want to point out one thing. See the dado that we put in here? We've modified this in order to accept the railing balusters. See the cap that we've put in, and everything that we've done here is going to go together here next. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out here is some of the work that we've already performed. We've got this little half wall that I've installed, which is a finished plywood. We've installed this post that is now nice and solid, and we have designed this for this to have a foot plate, which is what I was talking about, that had the dado in it. And this foot plate I've already cut to join together with a knockout right there, so it goes into the post, right? So this is just the inside of the post. There'll be a wrap around this. And all of these pieces we're going to connect together to create all of this foot plate that the railing is going to tie into. This is the existing post that is supporting the beam from above, and I've already installed, and I don't know if you can see it with the camera, but I've already installed this top piece, which is where our skins are going to butt into, and we're going to have a crown mold up there. So I think now we should get started. Okay, so the next step is to cut our railing off, our post off, so we know where the railing's going to tie into it, so that we know where the post cap's going to go, so that I can skin the post. Now, one of the things is the railing's going to come out flat, and then it's going to slope down. So I'm going to kind of mimic that, so I know where it's going to tie into this post, and then I'll measure up to where I need to and cut this post off. Okay, so now that we've got the veneer on the post, the next thing that we're going to do is install our cove molding up here, and we're also going to install our corner beads to make these a finished look. Okay, so I've pre-cut the railing pieces here just to show you what's going on. They kind of mimic the foot plate here, but I want to point out something here. I've got a straight edge here off of the noses of my stairs coming down here. I like to do that because then I can measure from my straight edge up 3 feet, which is right here. That's where I want this. And this is simply going to look, when I get done with it, it's going to look like this with a flat spot on this railing. You see how that goes together? Now I want to point out this other railing up here. This is at 3 feet. So if I were to straighten this out like that, I would end up at my line here at 3 feet. Well, we don't want to do that. We want to have a flat spot in here. That's going to be just fine, just to give it a nice little extra look. And so we're going to take care of that next. And you can kind of move a little, but that's okay. It'll tighten right up. Okay, so This is in. We've got a screw here and here. It's actually pretty solid already. And then the next step that we're going to do before we put our balusters in is actually work on to do the same thing with our upper railing and then start cutting our balusters and our fillet strip. We're going to do all of that right next here. All right, now we're going to lay out for our balusters or pickets. In this case, we're just using a square stock that is 1 1/16 by 1 1/16. The next step is to also know what our length is between our spaces. So I've got 67. I'm going to just double check up here. I've got 67, so I'm nice and parallel on my walls. And so what I've done is I've written down from wall to wall, I've got 67 inches. Now, I don't want a baluster against the wall or against the post on either side. I want the space in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my measurement. I'm going to go 67 inches and I'm going to add 1 1/16. So 67 inches plus 1 1/16 equals 68 1/16. And that's going to be the measurement that I calculate from. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because in my spaces I also want to add my baluster for each space, right? So that's why I'm adding another inch over here. We're just pretending that this wall is a baluster. Okay, that's a big mistake that a lot of carpenters make, is they don't pretend like there's that other baluster that's inside the wall here. That'll make a big difference. The other thing to remember is that between balusters per code, you can't have more than 4 inches between balusters. So in between, you've got to have 4 inches or less. So we're going to calculate this out right now. So what I've got is I've got 4 inches plus 1 1/16. So basically I've got 5 1/16 that I'm going to calculate for my spaces. That's why I have this. We're going to take 68 inches and we're going to divide that by 5. That equals 13.6 spaces. So that's 13.6. Well, we can't go higher, but we can go lower. So we're going to say that there's 14 spaces. Okay? 68 and divide that by 14. That equals 4.85. So a little more than 4 3/4. That's actually about 4 7/8 is our spaces. So let's try that out and see if it works. Now, this is just getting me started. Once I verify that the spaces are really close to being consistent all the way through, I want to make sure. The beauty of doing this is then there's fillet strip in between, and a lot of times I can just cut a bunch of fillet strip the same size and just put them in, and it should be pretty close and we're done. Alright, so we started putting in our balusters and our fillet strip on the bottom and the top. So this is that piece that I made. And you can see that there's a little kind of reveal right there. This is a little bit higher. And I did that on purpose because I don't want it down flush. I don't think it's going to look good. So I made it a little bit higher. What the fillet strip does is it actually holds the balusters in place. Okay, so if somebody were to fall against these, they're not going to come out because they're recessed down into the bottom plate and recessed up into the railing. And so what we simply do is we're putting in our fillet strip like that. And what I'm using in my nail gun is little 5/8 inch nails because I'm actually working over a concrete slab here and I'm nailing down and I don't want to hit that slab and have the nail kind of come back up a little bit. So I'm just using short little nails Just popping them in like that, putting the top in like so. And I've got another baluster pre-cut here. And these are nice and tight and snug, so it takes me just a second to get them in. See how nice and tight that is? The spaces are consistent. Everything's tight. There's no need to nail the baluster in. There's no need to toenail it because it's completely held in. It's completely held in from twisting one way or the other or from being popped out from force. It's a very strong, very easy way to do a railing. Okay, so we got the balustrades done on the flat railing. Now I'm working on the slope railing section. You can see I've got all of these just fitted in here. They're not nailed in and spaced correctly. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take some time and I'm just going to, I have a piece of fillet strip. I don't know if the camera can see that through the balusters, and I'm just marking each space as I go along. I'm gonna cut these at the angle and they should fit right in. I'm gonna go ahead and take a piece, mark the top, finish this piece right here, put on the cap, and then we should be done. As you can see, we have achieved a custom look here using off-the-shelf millwork. And the only way we were able to make this happen is with careful layout and prior planning. My name is Daniel Westbrook. We'll talk to you soon.